We know that in mathematics there are two subjects, algebra and geometry. Many students find that algebra is quite easy, but they experience that geometry is very difficult. It is really very difficult to understand, because if you don't understand it principally, then you may not be correct. It is very necessary to study that subject from the scrap. But how to study? That information will be given to you by Mrs. Gitanjali Bodhankar. She is in very reputed school from Pune, that is Bal Shikshan Mandir School, and I am very much sure that what information she will pass on, definitely you will be benefited.
Hello friends, today I'm going to talk to you about a subject with questions of shape, size, relative positions of figures. Any guess? Yes, it is none other than geometry, where geo stands for earth and metron stands for measurements, the subject which comprises of all measurements of the earth. Therefore, geometry is said to be mathematics of lines and shapes discovered or invented by the Greeks 4,000 years ago. Why study geometry? What is its scope? Comes the question to all the young minds. The scope of geometry is to develop spatial reasoning and problem-solving skills, which is used daily by the engineers, the land surveyors. Everything about us is geometry. The shape of our body, the house in which we live, the clothes that we wear, the school that we study, the classroom where we spend our time listening to the lectures, everything is geometry. Therefore, geometry also develops thinking, analytical thinking with logical reasoning, which is useful in our day-to-day life. That is why geometry is included in our curriculum with a guiding hand of the textbook. The textbook of geometry for class 10th is a continuation of attempt in class 9th textbook to comply with the guidelines and norms of National Curriculum Framework, that is NCF 2005. The revised and restructured syllabus for class 10th covers topics in broad themes of similarity, circle, geometric constructions, trigonometry, coordinate geometry, and mensuration. It is well said that the standard 10th syllabus is a doorstep to the standard 11th and standard 12th syllabus. The content of the book of standard 10th is sequenced with the content of the previous classes or standards. Each topic is developed with constructivist approach to enable students to grasp the content easily. Therefore, the textbook has many topics along with exercise, problem set, and question bank. The exercise at the end of each unit provides ample scope in solving problems by mastering the concepts that we have learned. The problem set, which is at the end of all the chapters, has a variety of problems ranging from simple to complex sums. The question bank at the end of the textbook contains problems with a purpose of developing HOTS, which means high order thinking skills among the students. Now let us see what is there in the textbook. The textbook comprises of 212 pages covering 6 chapters. Now let us see how to study this textbook. Your final exam is in the month of March. Therefore, you have almost 8 months to study. But I would say let us restrict ourselves to 6 months. 6 chapters, 6 months. Your school reopens in the month of June. So how to study? Study. S stands for survey, T stands for textbook, U stands for understanding, D stands for daily and Y stands for year. So survey the textbook, understand it daily throughout the year. So let us see how to study from June onwards till December. You can study. After that, January and February is to just revise and solve papers. So let us see how to study. In the month of June, you can study chapter 1, similarity, with 9 theorems and 6 properties and 53 sums. Out of 9 theorems, 3 theorems have been deleted. That is 1.2, the converse of the basic proportionality theorem, 1.5, the converse of Pythagoras theorem, and theorem 1.7, the converse of 30, 60, 90 theorem. Therefore, you have to study only 6 theorems. The 6 theorems are, before we start with the theorems, there is property of ratio of triangles. So there are 4 properties which you should know. Following those properties is exercise 1.1 with 10 sums. If you know the properties thoroughly and you are mastered by solving the sums, you are going to understand the remaining theorems. The first theorem is basic proportionality theorem, which is followed by the converse of basic proportionality theorem that has been deleted. It is again followed by the application of basic proportionality theorem, which are very important properties. That is the angle bisector property and the property of the intercepts made by 3 parallel lines. Following this theorem and the properties is your exercise 1.2 with 10 sums. After that is the test for similarity, the 3 test, that is SSS test of similarity, the SAS test of similarity, and the AAA test of similarity. Based on them is the exercise 1.3, which has around 6 sums. Following this is the theorem of similar triangles, which is followed by the exercise 1.4 having 8 sums. Then comes the theorem of similarity and right angle triangle. I again repeat. Then follows the theorem of similarity and right angle triangle. Based on that is the property, that is the geometric mean of, that is the property of geometric mean, and the Pythagoras theorem, which is followed by the converse of Pythagoras theorem. Again, I repeat that the portion and that the converse of Pythagoras theorem has been deleted. So the theorem of right angle triangle, similarity and right angle triangle, and the property along with the Pythagoras theorem, the application is in exercise 1.5, which has again around 8 sums. After that is your 30, 60, 90 theorem and the converse of 30, 60, 90 theorem and 45, 45, 90 theorem. Again over here, the converse of 30, 60, 90 theorem has been deleted. The sums based on these theorems is in exercise 1.6, which has around 7 sums. The last theorem of this chapter is the Apollonius theorem, and the exercise is 1.7 having around 6 sums. So that is how you have a total of 53 sums. Now let us go to chapter 2, which you will be studying in the month of July. So you have completed the first chapter in the month of June. Now we are going to the next month, July, to study the next chapter, that is circle. While studying this chapter, divide this chapter into 2 parts. And because this chapter has theorems based on tangents and theorems based on arcs of a circle. Tangent has 4 theorems. The first theorem is the tangent perpendicularity theorem and the converse of tangent perpendicularity theorem, which is followed by the tangents drawn from external point. So, and And the next theorem is the touching circles internally as well as externally. But the exercise 2.1 is based on the first three theorems, that is tangent perpendicularity theorem, the converse of tangent perpendicularity theorem, and the tangents drawn from external point. The tangents drawn from external point is a star theorem, which is usually asked in many of the SSC board papers. Exercise 2.1 based on these three theorems has 12 sums. The next theorem is the touching circle theorem. Based on that is exercise 2.2. Now let us go to the next theorem, that is based on the arcs of a circle. Here there is the inscribed angle theorem, and the application of the inscribed angle theorem is in exercise 2.3, which has around 7 sums. After that is again a very important or a star theorem, that is the cyclic quadrilateral. The converse of cyclic quadrilateral theorem has been deleted. So this chapter, which has around 12 theorems, out of that 2 theorems have been deleted, and that one of them is the converse of cyclic quadrilateral, which is followed by the tangent secant theorem, and the converse of tangent secant theorem is again deleted. So the 2 deleted theorems are converse of cyclic quadrilateral and converse of tangent secant theorem. Theorem of angles of alternate segment. This theorem of angles in alternate segments is a combo of the tangent secant theorem and the inscribed angle theorem. The application of these theorems is seen in exercise 2.4, having around 9 sums. After this is the theorem of intersecting secants, which is followed by the theorem of intersection of tangent and secant. This is the last theorem. Based on these 2 theorems is the exercise 2.5, having around 5 sums. So this way, taking into consideration chapter 1 and chapter 2, you have to concentrate on 6 theorems from chapter 1 and 10 theorems from chapter 2, total 16 theorems, and the total number of sums that you're going to solve from chapter 1 and chapter 2 is around 94 sums, which you are going to complete in the month of June and July, the main chapters, chapter 1 and chapter 2. Then comes August month, the month of unit test, where you're going to study the 3rd chapter, that is geometric construction, where you're going to be tested about your drawing skill. Here this chapter has been divided, actually if you see, into 4 parts, that is construction of incircle and circumcircle. The next part is telling you about construction of tangents. The 3rd part is the construction of arc inscribing an angle of a given measure, which has been deleted, along with the construction of triangles. So complete exercise 3.3 has been deleted, and the content or the unit from page number 89 to 92 and 94 to page number 100 have been totally deleted. So the 3rd part has been completely deleted. The 4th part is construction of similar triangles. So now this year you're going to study only 3 parts out of 4 parts. You're going to draw diagrams only of 3 parts, that is incircle and circumcircle of a triangle. Second is tangents to a circle, and third is construction of similar triangles. When you're studying this chapter, remember to practice the sums from the exercises that have been succeeded in these units. Now we move on to the 4th chapter, that is trigonometry, which you have already studied a part of it in standard 9th, where the introduction and the basic part of trigonometry has been completed. So when you look into this chapter, you will feel that you already know this lesson. a little variation is there in this chapter. That is, what you have studied in the first chapter, directed angle, has been taken a little more in detail in this chapter. That is standard angle and the angles in different quadrants and the quadrantal angle. Practice of these concepts has been seen in exercise 4.1. The next thing you're going to see is the signs of trigonometric ratios in different quadrants. Before that, we are going to see the trigonometric ratios in terms of coordinates of a point, that is x and y. Till now, in 9th standard, you had studied about the definitions, that what is sine theta, what is cos theta, but here you're going to talk about sine theta in the terms of coordinates of x and y, where sine theta is y upon r, is a ratio of y upon r, and cos theta is the ratio of the coordinate x upon r, which is nothing but the radius. And then it follows as tan theta as sine theta upon cos theta, which we have already seen in 9th standard, is nothing but ratio of y and x. After that is the trigonometric ratios of 0 degrees and 90 degrees angles. And we are also going to see something different, that is the negative angles. The third part of the lesson is telling you about the trigonometric identities. There are only 3 trigonometric identities that you have to learn. And the last part of the lesson is what is the application of trigonometry which we require in your daily life, might be in future when you will be, if you become a land surveyor, or if you become an engineer, or if you become a contractor, you will need the knowledge of this trigonometry. So application of trigonometry, please solve the exercise with a thorough understanding in a simplified manner and with logical thinking as well as reasoning. Only then you're going to enjoy this exercise. So please solve it on your own with a little help from the teachers. If you solve it on your own, you'll be able to apply it in your daily life. Let's come to the month of October, the month of your terminal exam and your second last chapter, that is chapter 5, coordinate geometry, which again you have studied in standard 9th. But now the coordinate geometry which you're going to study has lot of equations, out of which some is being deleted. So let us see about this chapter a little more in detail. This chapter, if you see, has been divided into 3 parts. The first part telling you about slope of a line, the second part telling you about equation of a line, and the third part is about the general equation of a line. This part has been deleted 1. So this is what is coordinate geometry, where you have around 4 exercises. 5.1 dealing with the slope of the line, 5.2 which has around 5 problems dealing with the slope of the line, where I have told you which has the coordinates of the points, that is m is equal to y2 minus y1 upon x2 minus x1. Then the remaining 2 exercises are based on the equation of length. Now let's come to the last chapter, the last month of studying for geometry seriously and sincerely, is the last chapter, chapter 6, mensuration. The chapter which is applicable to again to our daily life. This chapter has been divided into 3 parts. The first part tells you about the circle, arc, sector and segment. The second part tells you about Euler's formula, and the third part discusses about the different solid figures, that is the surface area and volume of cube, cuboid, cylinder, cone, sphere and hemisphere. After that comes your problem set, because you have finished all the lessons now, all the chapters. Problem set has around 130 sums from simple to complex. Solve each and every sum. See whether you have understood each and every chapter. And then comes your hard sums, the high order thinking skills sums. If you can solve this, then you can solve any sum on this. Let us see the unit-wise marks distribution. Chapter 1, Similarity. Yes, it is of 12 marks. Chapter 2 is Circle, 10 marks. Geometric Construction, the third chapter, carries 10 marks. Trigonometry also carries 10 marks. Coordinate Geometry is for 8 marks. And Mensuration is for 12 marks. What are the objectives while setting a paper? Why am I asking this question? Because I am going to go to the question paper pattern. But before we go to the question paper pattern, let us see what are the objectives that are fulfilled while setting the paper and while we are attempting the paper. There are 4 objectives: knowledge, understanding, application, and skill. Knowledge. Have you understood the different contents, the different concepts? For 9 marks. Understanding is also for 9 marks. Application is 30 marks. So don't think that you can by heart the textbook. So because knowledge and understanding carries 18 marks totally. But the application part, whether you have really understood what you have studied, carries 30 marks. And the drawing skill carries 12 marks. That is your geometric construction. And even there are problems where it is asked only in the form of words, but you have to, after that you have to draw the figure and then analyze the figure and then solve the sum. So that all carries 12 marks. So this is how your paper is set. So what is the question paper pattern? There are total 5 questions which are asked for 40 marks, and you have to complete it in 2 hours, that is 120 minutes. Question 1 has 1 mark question. There are 6 questions out of which you have to attempt any 5. So that is for 5 marks. With option, if you solve all of them, then it is 6 marks. Question 2 are 2 marks question where you have to solve any 4 out of 6. I'm repeating again. Question 2 is 2 marks questions where you have to solve any 4 out of 6. Without options, it is for 8 marks, but with options, it is for 12 marks. Question 3 is 3 marks question. Without option, it is 9 marks, but with option, it is for 15 marks. Question 4 is 4 marks question, which is any 2 out of 3. So without option, it is for 8 marks, and with option, it is for 12 marks. Question 5, hot sums. Question 4 also has hot sums, but question 5 has hot sums mainly from the question bank and a little from the outside. Here you have to solve any 2 questions out of option. It is for 15 marks, and without option, it is for 10 marks. So if without option, it is for 40 marks. The question paper is 40 marks. But if it is seen with option, then the question paper is out of 60 marks. So I have discussed with you all the unit-wise marking. I have discussed with you all the objectives while setting the paper. I have discussed with you all the question paper pattern. But let us see the evaluation system. The written exam is out of 40 marks. But there are some internal marks also, which is out of 10 marks. This internal marks has been divided into 2 parts. You will see that your teachers have given you assignments. 5 assignments have to be completed of 10 marks. So therefore total 50 marks, which is converted to 5 marks. Then where is the remaining 5 marks? Unit test 1 in semester 1 and unit test 2 in semester 2. But this unit test 2 is totally multiple choice questions. Now this 5 marks and the other 5 marks are total to 10 marks. So this way 10 marks are your internal marks that is sent to the SSC board. So you are writing 40 marks paper and 10 marks internal marks. So your geometry marks will be out of 50. So my dear children, happy learning and wish you all a very happy and prosperous and bright future. Best of luck. Study well and score full marks. Thank you.